Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. On the line with us, Jonathan Schleifer. He's the executive director of the Fairness Project. TheFairnessProject.org is their website. They're one of the big backers of Medicaid for All in Maine. Jonathan, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me, Tom.
Thanks for joining us. So tell me what happened in Maine, how you guys got this on the ballot, and I've seen 3 news stories this morning about other states that are now going, oh, really? You can do this? And so what's going on here?
Yeah, that's right. Well, last night, voters in Maine sent a really clear message. By taking matters into their own hands, they were able to give themselves and their families the Medicaid expansion that their Governor LePage, has denied them 5 times. You know, the state legislature in Maine 5 times over had bipartisan support for the Medicaid expansion. Governor LePage vetoed it 5 times. And about a year ago, as the Fairness Project was working with folks in Maine on the minimum wage increase ballot initiative, we started talking about how we could leverage the ballot process to go over the head of Governor LePage and to secure the Medicaid expansion for Mainers. And last night we saw that the end of a year's work come to fruition, as 59% of Mainers said yes on question 2, and within a few months, barring any opposition and any fights we have to get into with Governor LePage, because he's already threatening, trying to go against the will of the people, but in a couple months, 70,000 plus Mainers are going to get the Medicaid expansion that's been long due to them.
Yeah, this is extraordinary. So, you know, the Republicans really crafted this process of putting things on ballot initiatives, you know, on the ballot as a partisan weapon, essentially. I mean, all the way back to the 1970s, they would, after Roe v. Wade, they would put anti-abortion legislation or even just resolutions on the ballot in the hopes that it would cause a greater turnout among the Republican base. Have Democrats not figured this out? I mean, this seems like something that in every state in the union, Democrats should have things on the ballot, you know, raising the minimum wage, giving health care to all, stuff that, you know, promotes democratic values and also that stimulates Democratic voters to show up and vote for something.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, we can't do it in every state. We're limited to about 23 states in which we can do ballot initiatives. And I think to the point that you had with the caller maybe 2 before I got on, where you're talking about how the progressive policies, progressive issues are backed by the majority of Americans, that we're united around wanting everyone to have a fair wage. We're united around people deserving health care and being able to support it. And we saw this in 2016, where the Fairness Project worked in 6 states and was able to raise the wage through ballot initiative process for 8 million people. 2 million people got earned paid sick time in that same election, also through the ballot initiative process. And what we saw in 16, and we don't have the numbers yet for Maine, but we saw in 16 that the minimum wage was more popular than Donald Trump, and more popular than Secretary Clinton, was more popular than John McCain and Mike Bennett, because these are issues that when you ask folks in Utah, when you ask them in Colorado and Washington State and in Maine last night, if they're with us on this one, the answer is absolutely yes. And so, you know, whether or not the party and others are getting the message, yeah, I think the folks on the ground are getting the message that when they want to raise the wage in their state, when they want to expand Medicaid in their state, and they're finding that they're not getting anything from either from Washington, D.C. or from their state capital, that they can take the power back. They could collect signatures from their neighbors and friends. They could talk to their neighbors for an extent, you know, throughout the campaign, convince them that this is the right move, and then on election day, they win.
All right, and presumably, Jonathan, if somebody listening to our conversation right now in a state other than Maine says, hey, that's a great idea, will you all help me out? If they go to thefairnessproject.org, will they find tools or resources? Is there a way that you can be of help to them?
Absolutely, absolutely. What the Fairness Project does is we act as we help incubate these campaigns. So we have early funding, because running these campaigns can be really expensive, and frankly, the opposition is insanely well funded. And so what we do is we try to balance the playing field a little bit. So we help campaigns get off the ground. We help them do the polling, the legal research. We help them do the policy research as well. We help them through the signature collection process, which can get really technical. And then throughout the campaign, we're there to partner with them to make sure that they have everything they need to run a winning race. And at the end of the day, that's what we do.
Yeah, that's great stuff. We're talking with Jonathan, is it Schleifer or Schleifer?
Schleifer, you got it right.
Schleifer, got it right. Okay. Yeah. The executive director of the Fairness Project, thefairnessproject.org. Jonathan, I'm trying to imagine what Paul LePage and the Republicans in Maine might have said in their television advertising and their press appearances to try to convince Mainers, citizens of Maine, to vote against expanding Medicaid to cover the working poor in Maine. And what argument did they make? I can't even figure out what it would be. What, poor people don't deserve health care?
Well, they were relying upon the same old sort of, sleights of hand and misdirection. What's now being called the fake news. They were basically arguing that by expanding Medicaid to folks, that it was going to just benefit what they like to say is, quote, able-bodied men. That folks, that people would sit on their couch and they would just collect their Medicaid. The opposition saw themselves. The name of the opposition group was Welfare to Work. And so, we were hearing the same old thing, that this is going to hurt seniors, and this is just a way for able-bodied people to get another government handout. And it sort of revealed the true cause or the true source of the opposition to this, which is just that they oppose government programs that help people who need help.
Right. Right, and even the idea of it, frankly. I mean, you go back to when Medicare and Medicaid were put into law back in the 60s, and Ronald Reagan recording his album saying, someday we'll look back and say, I remember when men were free.
That's right.
Yeah, so now we've got this giant socialist program, Medicare and Social Security. My God, we can't have this stuff. Mm-hmm. So, right. Jonathan, I think it's absolutely marvelous what you guys are doing there at the Fairness Project, and congratulations on a big victory last night. Yeah, it's just great.
I'd be remiss to not add that we won last night, and as you said, anyone states around the country who want to get to work at passing Medicaid expansion, other progressive ballot initiatives, Fairness Project is here to
get in touch with you. TheFairnessProject.org. Jonathan, I'm out of time here. I got to run.